the first part is easy. My name is Rose Huynh. I am in my late 30s. I just became a mother. I'm starting to try and navigate, social media, and I'm realizing there's a lot of problems with it. And I'm starting a podcast because I want to start a podcast to talk about the issues that we deal with as women.
Let's see. So my family's from Michigan. I have a lot of ties to Michigan for the last couple hundred years. From my dad's side, we moved down to North Carolina when I was 3. And I've lived in the Piedmont area for most of my life, bar a few excursions to different states. But yeah, I'm down here are we still considered the Piedmont?
Yes.
Lower Piedmont, Southern Piedmont.
Western Piedmont.
Western Piedmont of North Carolina. And yeah, I was homeschooled and I did a lot of dancing and ballet. I realized I should be specific. And I'm a mom. Yeah. There we go.
Fresh and crispy mom.
Yes. Just turned 15 months old yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was born in Orlando by chance. We were moving around a lot. I was raised in a highly religious family. We were not military. We just couldn't stay put for various reasons. We ended up in North Carolina where my parents divorced, and that is where we stayed. Trying to think, I grew up in and out of high control environments, and went to college and back to Orlando for college, and got out of religion at that point, came back to North Carolina where I eventually met the love of my life, and very recently, as of 4 months ago, became a mother. So yeah, that's my timeline.
Yours was a lot more concise than mine.
Yeah, well, if we get into the details of mine, we're going to be here for 4 hours.
I know.
I have to keep mine vague because there's no in between. Either we're going through the details of moving 7 times in 3 years, or we're just going to say I moved a lot.
Yep. Yeah, and I didn't even get into the high control of my experience. I was in high control environments from birth. My parents put themselves into a high control environment because I was born. They thought that was the safe, good thing to do as parents, was to put me in a high control environment. And then that just transitioned from one to another to another. And then when I was old enough to kind of make my own quote unquote decisions, I continued along that path of finding another high control environment and then another.
Yeah.
And I didn't get out until 2016, 15, 16. So when I finally broke free of high control environments. And then at the end of 2016 is when I broke out of my high control marriage.
Yeah, because I'm a bad influence.
I shouldn't have done it in the first place. That's another podcast. Yeah. But yeah, so then after I got out of all of that and left my first marriage, hung out with you a lot more than we were. Yeah. And your husband has a brother. And yeah, we were in the back seat. Y'all were in the front seat, and on many excursions and trips. And you wanted to sit next to your husband. So by default, I would sit next to your brother-in-law. And now we're sisters-in-law. Sisters-in-law.
Yeah.
Yes. As of 2.5 years ago.
Yep.
I had to do the math there.
Yeah.
Cool. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Yay, we're done. Let's keep going.
So why do we want to do a podcast?
Oh, well, the idea kind of birthed really quickly. It was really fun. We were at work that one night, and we just started talking about things that like we always do. And you were talking about your cat, Diego, and he was in the big tree pot, and that the echoing of the vibrations of his purring made it sound like the pot was purring. And I flipped the words and was like, oh, purring pot, that's a fun name for something. And you were like, that's a fun name for a podcast.
Yeah.
And or something like that, something along those lines. And
yeah, it evolved very quickly over the course of like an hour. And then
yeah,
we through talking, we realized we both had been thinking about doing some kind of opinion piece talking podcast. And we both had really good reason to do an opinion piece podcast.
yeah,
Because there's a lot of really unreasonable stuff out there that requires a lot of critical thinking, and having the voice of reason talking in your ear every now and then is sometimes really helpful.
yes. Well, I think like what you just said, it requires critical thinking, but I don't feel like that's being really taught or
No.
what's the word? Not encouraged or something
Mhm.
like that. That it's really just watch this TikTok video and there you go, you've got your news on this subject or that subject, as opposed
And
to like, think it
as we've
through.
discovered, things are way more complicated than you could ever fit into a TikTok video.
Exactly. And I mean, TikTok videos have their place and purpose, just like Instagram posts and whatnot. But I feel like TikTok specifically and those types of quick bursts of information, when it's news related, has removed the need for a lot of the younger generation to think critically.
Mhm.
Because we were raised in the age of the World Wide Web, it was don't trust everything you see on the internet, be wary. Like I was saying, I was
Well,
afraid of YouTube because I didn't want a virus. So we
we
have
were
that.
raised when the internet was the wild wild west.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was crappy GeoCities websites and AOL chat rooms, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing was geared towards children. Nobody was considering
Right.
the fact that 11-year-olds were using it. And AIM Messenger was out there. Just you could chat to anybody, anytime, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to use critical thinking skills. You had to be careful,
Yeah.
or you were preyed upon. And it was, you were raised with going on the internet is the same as walking through a public market.
Yeah.
You take the same amount of precautions, but here we are now. The internet has been fleshed out and prettified, and it appears safe because it appears user friendly, and
Mm.
no one's ever encouraged to go find out more information. This
Correct.
Instagram post is all the information you need. You
Yep.
don't need to go looking for more information. You don't need to double check their sources. You don't need to they don't need to cite their
Yes.
sources. It's a TikTok video.
Right. Yeah.
And that's increasingly a problem.
I agree. I agree because yeah, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
repeat what you said. So
Yeah.
I think that's one why we are struggling with TikTok style, because it makes me frustrated really quickly to be like that, but that's not the whole story. Like, and it's not encouraging you to go find out. It's giving it to you as a little package of this is all you need. I promise. I worked really hard on this 2-minute video or 60-second video.
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to down social media. I mean, obviously, I like the platforms that I'm on, and I think they have a place. And that's, I think, kind of what we want to get into, is because it's so heavily used in day-to-day information to, like you said, throw out another opinion. I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
voices in the sea, and we kind of just want to add to it, but why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We feel like, or at least
Because I think
I feel like there's a
social media is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, one more thing. I just feel like there is a gaping hole of something that's needed in social media.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
And I love social media. I think the idea of social media is fantastic. I think it's a utopia that's just waiting to be occupied, but it's also the depths of the ocean, and there's some scary things lurking around down there.
Mhm.
And being reasonable and being and thinking critically about what's going on is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, these kids aren't taught that. They're taught, here, entertain yourself with your cell phone or your tablet.
Yeah, here, let me just shove a screen in your face, and so that I can shove a screen in my own face, and we don't have to talk to each other, and I don't have to interact with you because I'm overwhelmed and I'm overstimulated myself as a parent, and
Right.
I don't know how to cope or connect with my child because my parents never did it for me, and I don't know how to start the journey out on that.
So, Rose, what is it that you feel like you have to offer to the podcast community?
Like, if I'm just being straight, my opinion,
Okay, and why do you
like,
think your opinion is something other people find valuable?
because
It's not a narcissistic question. So, so why?
no, it's a very good question. It takes some thought because there's a lot of information out there, and you think that, well, adding to it isn't going to help, but honestly, if somebody who's confused and torn and going through postpartum depression and is freaking out, um or is experiencing just general anxiety around being a woman, finds the podcast, and I can be a voice of reason and a voice of critical thinking in their life, then I have accomplished my goal with this podcast.
That's beautiful. I think that's great. Um, you speaking of, what we're going through currently, and that's motherhood for both of us.
Yeah.
Your baby is 4 months old and
Hmm.
mine's 15 months old, and it's new. We're later on. I'm mid-30s and you're
I'm late 30s,
late
so
30s.
yeah.
I wouldn't change that at all.
For
Not
the
one bit.
world.
But I did suffer with major and still do PPD, and the social media posts did not help. In fact, made it so much worse because you were talking about individual society earlier. Yeah, go back to that.
Go back to that.
Yeah.
Because of the individualism of our society, like, American women specifically suffer from, probably, I would say, the highest cases. I don't have any numbers to cite,
We can
but
add.
I feel confident saying that we suffer from the highest percentage of cases of postpartum depression in the world. And I want to blame our individualistic society and how we're encouraged that we should be able to do this by ourselves when not a single generation before us did this by themselves. There was always grandma living in the house. There was always someone else coming over to help to take off a few hours of the day. You weren't just raising a baby by yourself. It just wasn't a thing that happened until recently.
Yeah. I'm going to take a stab and say what caused the shift is potentially the feminism movement of women need to be the top in their career and do it all, be the super mom and have the high paying job, and look at me, I can do it all. I feel like that's kind of where
Actually, that whole concept of you need to be 100% a mother and 100% a career woman, and you need to be, if you're going to have a career as a woman, you need to be the CEO and drive and work like you're not a mother, and be a mother like you don't work. That whole concept is actually anti-feminist,
I agree.
and it is a result of a post-feminist movement, where a lot of misogynistic people have gone, well, if you want equal pay, you have to work like a man who doesn't work like he's a father. you know
Right.
if you want equal rights in the workplace, then you need to act like you don't have children. But at the same time, you know, as soon as you go home, you're a mother. Why aren't you acting like a mother? And they created a catch-22 that is impossible to achieve so that they could say, well, look, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very messed up.
And that,
Deeply messed up.
yeah, that one little nugget alone can cause PPD.
Oh yeah.
Just that one thing, or any type of anxiety. That's so much pressure on an individual person, and then to present yourself as somebody who's got it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then the jealousy and the peer pressure, and it just snowballs from there.
The envy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the pressure, the income pressure to have, you know, all the new shiny things and have all the new toys, and you know, you've got to get them Montessori branded rattles and teethers and all of that. And it's just not true. Like,
I will disclaimer, we work and our parents. We're not
yes.
sitting here from a stay-at-home mom perspective.
Nope.
Our husbands their own business, as our husbands own their own business, and we work in that business just as much as we are mothers.
Yep. We and I just want to throw it out there, thank you so much to the grandparents who are involved in helping us do that, because otherwise we would not be able to afford childcare where we are.
Absolutely.
There are weeks
owning your own business will be a separate few podcasts, honestly.
Yeah, because as it turns out, that owning a business does not, in our area, in our current economic state, owning a business does not make you what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't, we still struggle with how we're going to pay with our groceries.
It doesn't
We're
raise
still
a class.
Yeah, we're balancing our books on how we're going to pay our mortgage this month. Like, it doesn't save you at all.
No, you know, the whole, like, well, that's a tangent. As I said, that's a different podcast. Where was I going? Oh,
I don't know, but I love it.
Yes, grandparents. Yes, very, very accurate. We have
huge big thank you to the grandparents out there.
Yes. Our whole family, well, not whole family, a lot of our family is in the same city, and that has been a huge blessing to have childcare through family, through grandparents. Something that, you know, some of us didn't have. My husband talks all the time about how he loves that our son is getting one-on-one time with his grandparents, because he did not at all ever in his lifetime have that. And he loves watching our son experience that.
And just a brief intersection, our husbands are the children of Vietnamese refugees that came over in the 70s after the Vietnam War ended. So their grandparents weren't available to them because they were in another country or had already passed away.
Yes. And that just goes to show you everybody's different. We know that. We're not trying to say that we've got it figured out, because I don't have it figured out.
And honestly, I'm hoping some of these conversations can help us figure some stuff
out.
Yes.
And comments from you guys, you know, please
absolutely
let us know what you think if you don't understand what we're saying, because I sometimes either.
I fully agree with the Grecian forum concept, where the more opinions and that are introduced to the forum, the more everybody learns.
Yes, I agree. I mean, if we're supposed to, what's the opposite of the individualistic society?
Community society.
Community. I mean, if we're wired to be a part of a community, then of course that's how we're going to learn. Not one person should get up on a pedestal and say, I know more than you guys. Now, there are smart people, and you know,
absolutely,
that's the critical thinking part that a lot of generations after us struggle with.
Yep.